And talk about seaweed.
Yes.
Tell us about seaweed. I'm intrigued, and I got intrigued from your website. So tell us about growing seaweed. What are some of the benefits and what it's used for?
Yeah, I think seaweed is a great option. I think it's nutritious, it's tasty, it's versatile, and it's a sustainable source of food. And it can be used for a range of purposes. It can be used as food or food additive, filtration for underside nutrients in water. It's used in toothpaste, cosmetic paints, for animal
Toothpaste and cosmetics. Wow.
as a binding agent often.
Oh.
Animal feed as well, fertilizers and biofuel. So it's very, very versatile. And seaweed is produced throughout the world, but it's concentrated to Asia, and it's a relatively low technology business with high labor requirements there. And in terms of methods, they can range from anything from wild harvest to aquaculture system, or both cultivation in sea and land-based. And seaweed farming can take different forms. It can be all from simply managing naturally found batches to more advanced. They consist of fully controlling the whole life cycle of the algae. And seaweed production has often been developed as an alternative to reduce fishing pressures and overexploited fisheries. But it can also it also has a number of environmental impacts. It can have effects on the water movement and effects on physical structures for terrestrial and aquatic habitats. And it can also lead to changes in water quality and biodiversity.
So what if I was going to go to the store and buy seaweed? I mean, there's seaweed, like fancy seaweed in the regular grocery store that's like, you know, in the little nori sheets, and it comes in a big fancy package. And then in the Asian market, there's like all kind of real looking seaweed. You know, it's really funky looking, and I don't really know what I'm looking at. But you know, what should the consumer be aware of when we go to buy seaweed?
That's a good question. I mentioned before that it had some adverse impact, and that's the reason that ASC, together with the Marine Stewardship Council, we developed a joint standard for responsible seaweed production. And this standard sets principles quite similar to what we set for the farm standards. So there's principles for sustainable wild populations, principles for environmental impact, social impacts, effective management of the farms, and community relations and interactions. So we just launched this standard actually earlier this year. And we already have a first producer from Japan in assessment, and it should hopefully be certified anytime now.
Wow, good. So I think, to just summarize for me, so much of when I'm shopping, I don't see sustainable sources actually, and that could be a factor where we are. So I think the takeaway for me, and what I hope the takeaway is for anybody who ends up watching this, is to really ask the questions and ask in the restaurants for sustainably sourced products, and ask in the stores and say, where did this come from? I want to spend money in your store, and I want to do that on products I feel good about, and asking for these ASC and MSC and these other certifying organizations. So I want to get close to wrapping this up, because I know we've talked even longer than we planned. So
no, but absolutely, I agree. I agree with that. In situations where you don't see a logo, just asking about the origin of the seafood or stating a preference for third-party certification, that can lead to more stores and restaurants providing environmental and socially responsible choice.
Right. So, I think it really does. I think it makes an impact. And I've started asking in situations that I didn't used to. I've started asking, and I'm often the person talking to my grocery store manager, because for a while they didn't even have bread that didn't have omega-6 oil in it. And I was up there being like, you used to carry this brand, please bring it back. One more quick question, I think, on kind of global stuff. Just to reiterate that ASC and MSC are international organizations, so the standard is the same whether the product comes from Asia or from Africa or from the US or Europe, anywhere, the standard's the same. We can tell.
Yes, that's correct. The standards are global. So a trout farm in the US, given that example, would have to follow the same criteria as a trout farm in Denmark or Brazil.
Yeah. Good to know. Another question on labeling. Are there any claims or labels that we should avoid? For example, in the United States, a lot of products say natural on the front, and that does mean no artificial colors, and I think there's a handful of other things it means, but it's not real meaningful. Are there any things that happen to be stamped on fish packaging that we should say, that's not really that meaningful?
That's a really good question. I think when it comes to labels or claims, check what kind of standards or criteria the labels requires, and check if it's third-party verified and if it's operated transparently. And then when it comes to claims, it's important that any product with claims be sustainable, natural, better for the environment, better for people, that they can provide credible evidence that support these claims.
Yeah.
So research how the claims are backed up. Are they based on in-house guidelines or national or international regulations, for example?
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Well, I'm really grateful. Thank you so much for your time and your knowledge and sharing with us, and also thank you for just being part of an organization that's doing important work for protecting our health and protecting the environment. And one thing we didn't even touch on is that ASC also is very committed to working standards for the people who work in the fish farms. They are very committed to making sure they're getting fair wages and safe working environments. So we didn't even get to that until now.
No, that is an important part of our standard, and that is something that sets us apart from many other regulations and standards, that we have such a strong focus on the social standards, and they're based on ILO of the United Nations. They're based on their guidelines. So
would you give us any parting advice? What should we do as consumers to help make the right choices?
Well, of course, I would say, first of all, look for the AC and MSC label, so you can find it. The second is what we talked about, ask. Ask your store, check where the origin comes from, ask questions. And if you want to have, more responsible farm source, ask for that.
Mm-hmm.
And thirdly, I would say, just be observant and check for these claims and other labels, and just check what the origins are from them.
Yeah, pay attention.
Pay attention.
Yeah, that's what we're teaching in Choose Joyful Health. Pay attention to your choices. Be mindful, and whether it's exercise, posture, fish, nutrition, meditation, whatever it is, pay attention and live consciously. Make the choice on purpose.
Exactly. It's a choice. We always say that small decisions can have large impacts.
Yes.
And this is definitely the case.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I'm really grateful, and we'll make sure that this video has a link to the ASC website as well as Choose Joyful Health, where we provide tips and tools for healthy, conscious, intentional living. And
thank you so much, John.
Thank you, and have a great day in Paris.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.